job. Psychologist Hugo Munsterberg once wrote, "Film is the only visual art in which the whole richness of our inner life, our perceptions, our memory, and our imagination, our expectation, and our attention can be made living in the outer impressions of themselves." Action. I inherited my creativity early on from the very important people in my life. Cameras have run in my family for about 3 generations, starting with my grandfather. He celebrated the art of the home movie, which was passed down to my mother as her inspiration for old DV tape treasures, such as what is famously known in my family as The Jessica Show. And it is now passed down to me. All throughout my life, one thing continuously remained: the camera. My parents had recorded every milestone of my life growing up. There are countless videos in the old family DV tapes of videos of my first years on this earth, my first bath, every Christmas, and every family vacation. It was natural. I grew up very comfortable around cameras early on, and I have my mom and my dad to thank for that. And, I suppose, in a particular way, my mom has her father to thank for that as well. My pop-up was there when the first 8mm movie camera hit the shelves, and of course he bought it. I never knew him as anything other than my pop-up, the kind old man who would eat the tomatoes off my sandwiches, tend to his garden, and watch the eagles until he dozed off in the old recliner chair. Here, though, he wasn't pop-up, or at least not yet. Here, he was Joe. Joe was a man I never fully knew, and never really got a chance to meet. It's strange to see him in his pre-pop-up years, in rooms I've never been in with people I've never met. People who were long gone before my time. Places inaccessible to myself, yet there they are, before my eyes on my mini silver screen. And there he was, alive and well, and having a good time. It all started here. Well, it actually slowly began to start back at my grandparents' old house. But here is where it really started. I had had my first encounter with Alzheimer's when I was 16, after my grandparents moved to an independent living home. And I took up a job there, waitressing for the assisted living side. It was there I began to really see how dangerous it can be to forget. Names, faces, even just being able to eat were all lost. Nothing left but a memory of a memory behind their eyes. Who they were seemed almost nearly forgotten to them, and all time and space stayed at a halt. It was an endless waiting game, waiting for lost loved ones in days that would never come. And then, it happened to my pop-up. The hardest was hearing him call me Jen. When after all these years he'd call me my Jessica. It was even harder watching him in pain. I wasn't able to be there as often as I'd liked, because of school, so it felt as if I, too, was beginning to feel the weight of time slowly running out. I was relieved he remembered enough, and at least Jen was close enough to Jess. I remember the last time I saw him, as we sat and watched the old digital photo frame together slowly shift between different moments, quietly listening to him talk about those days. Slowly losing my pop-up was hard for me, but it was even harder for my family to lose Joe. Before he died, my grandmother presented my mother a box full of old 35mm photography slides and 8mm video reels, asking her if it was at all possible for her to get them converted digitally. It was later that fate just so happened to place an opportunity in my lap, but unfortunately, Pop-Pop didn't stick around long enough to see it through. But now, hundreds of dollars later, with 14 of Pop-Pop's old reels now, all kept neatly tucked in the crevices of those ones and zeros of my computer, an opportunity emerged. The opportunity for us left behind to remember who he was, through what pieces of him remained for us. Film theorist Andre Bazin describes this as a means of mummifying the past and those who were left in it. I like the way he put it. Those gray or sepia shadows, phantom-like and almost undecipherable, are no longer traditional family portraits, but rather the disturbing presence of lives halted at a set moment in their duration, freed from their destiny, not, however, by the prestige of art, but by the power of an impassive mechanical process. For photography does not create eternity, as art does. It embalms time, rescuing it simply from its proper corruption. Our memories are what make us whole. They are the missing piece behind a photograph's worth. The feelings we get when we see a loved one's face again after they've passed, or a home that no longer exists. Though the man behind the camera may have passed on, he left behind the pieces of him in those frames, and it is left to us who remain. And while our memories may be blurred as we rewatch those old faces, the emotions we reconnect with become clear. You don't have to be diagnosed with Alzheimer's to begin to forget the small details, or to have memories slipped from your mind. And that's the beauty of the photographic image. You may not remember what you ate that day or what time you woke up, but watching these films of these mummified moments help you remember the connection you have to those happier days. It's about the emotions you feel when seeing people come back from the dead before your very eyes, as the film strip transcends time and is able to bring back for a moment what was once lost.
Oh, that's me. I'm sledding. I didn't even realize it. I still have that sled. We're playing ice hockey. I never even seen these. And of course my dad was taking all the pictures.
And my hairstyle is the same.
Remember any of that?
I remember the whole room. I remember everything about that room, that house.
August Place, right?
Yeah.
August Place, yeah.
I'm just realizing he did have a fascination for paneling the basements.
Yeah, well, I think that was a style back then.
To me, this is why we take photos. This is why we sit behind that camera, capturing our lives the way they are laid out in front of us. Some might consider it selfish or superficial to prioritize a camera over being in that moment, but I don't think that's the case. I don't see the camera as the priority in that sense. I see it as a tool to keep what really matters in focus.
I'm just remembering I bought that sound camera for Pop-Up. When I first started working.
Was he super into filming and photography or
He loved the camera. He had his tripod and he would do things and he was so much into, I don't know what profited, but he was into making doubles of everything. He was always afraid he would lose a picture, like there would be a picture that would be, just evaporated. I can't believe, there he is swimming. He's swimming, he's alive. I can't believe he's gone because he couldn't do that at the end. I don't think of him at the end anymore. You think that would be uppermost in my mind, because he was so bad at the end, but I always think of him when he was younger. I don't know why. Maybe because that was happier than at the end. Even though it had its hard times, that was happier than at the end.
Alzheimer's shows no mercy. For nothing and nobody. Not for the people it hurts, nor the families it leaves behind. Not even Pop-Pop. I was lucky, though, that Alzheimer's didn't completely take him away from me in those last moments, because I knew he could never forget the love of his family, even after forgetting all of those days before. It's something I find people often forget about until it's too late, and it is this forgetfulness that becomes dangerous. Alzheimer's is predominantly defined solely in medical terms, not so much in human terms. The story of Alzheimer's goes far beyond its definition. It's more than just confined to an increase in the accumulation of beta-amyloid protein in the brain that leads to nerve cell death that affects around 38% of persons over the age of 85. The story of Alzheimer's is the story of individuals. It was the story of my grandfather, his struggles, his pain, his good days and his bad days. And it is also the story of his sister.
Want me to start with my name and all that, my age? I'm Addie Urban. I was just 79 in June. I am talking to my beautiful second niece, Jessica Schnorr, and we will start with a tour of my home. This is an over 55 development, and I have a 2-bedroom garage. So I will take you on tour. Come on. This is my bedroom. A lot of memories going on in here. Furniture from when my daughter, who is now 56, when she was 13, this was her bedroom. Pictures of my family, which I love. My restful place. And these are my appointments. So I don't forget any. I go from July 5, 12, the 11th. I go into August, September, even my teeth cleaning in December. So I am happy here. I have good feelings, good vibes. I have to keep busy. It's one of my prescriptions. My therapy is gardening and crafting. I love to spend time outside. I know it looks dim, but you live day by day.
You live day by day. That's what everybody has to do.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to begin by telling you the early issues I may have and being progressive about what was happening to me. My early days were forgetting, getting lost in directions, having difficulty remembering. I realized there was something going on that was not me. I love my house. I keep busy. I have wonderful neighbors who care for one another. I'm not a great social person with the activities that go on with the community, but I live day to day. Future might look complicated, but Alzheimer's is a research ongoing.
Film is what brought my family together during these difficult times of grief. I hadn't seen Aunt Addie in years before the funeral, after spending so much of my life in her old house as a child. Time may have driven us all apart, but it's what is left behind that brought us back together. And therefore, we take photos. And therefore, we make movies. It's not for stardom or Hollywood or billboards or fame or for fortune. It's for our human nature. It fills the hole of those who were left behind and helps us to relive those emotions and remember what is important. It is why things like Alzheimer's never truly win in the end.